The weather is cold, the snow is falling, and it finally feels like winter in Colorado. Thanks so much for joining us on this Weather Impact Day. I'm Mark Salinger. It is finally coming down in the mountains and the metro area. We've waited a while down here in the city for it. Here's a live look out over in Powerfield right now. If you spent your day up in the mountains, you kind of missed all the fog and clouds that we saw down here in the city. It was one of those rare Denver days with zero sun, and now the snow is covering the stadium there for the big Broncos game tomorrow. And at DIA, we saw around 900 delays and 600 canceled flights because of some dense fog, especially this morning. This is what it looked like out there. There was also an important delayed flight coming in tonight to Denver. The Kansas City Chiefs sat on a plane on the tarmac for hours in Kansas City before being able to finally take off because the airport was shut down there. Team plane ended up landing around 6 p.m. this evening. I want to take you up to the mountains now. Here's a live look over I-70 near East Vale. Record amounts of traffic is expected to pass through I-70 this weekend. It's, of course, the end of the holidays, and everyone is heading up for some fresh powder. Looks like it's coming down pretty good right there. Winter weather advisories have been issued for parts of the mountains. So the roads are slick with snow sticking almost immediately after it starts falling because of how cold it's been recently. 9 News reporter Colton Chavez is joining us live in Denver this evening. And Colton, usually there's a beautiful skyline there behind you, but tonight that visibility is pretty rough.
Yeah, Mark, it is. When you're talking about the Chiefs trying to fly into Denver, if that's what the planes have to land in, I mean, tips off to the pilots. And for anybody that's going to the game tomorrow, if the weather that we felt today is any indication, please bundle up because it is cold out here. I mean, I don't even think I have to tell you that. You probably already know. As for the roads, Mark, you're kind of talking about how there was some snow that's been falling and sticking. Roads looking pretty decent right now. I-25 behind me still, decent amount of traffic. But what we want to talk about is that there actually is supposed to be record number of traffic going through I-70 this weekend, and we were up there earlier today. So I want to go ahead and give you an idea of what Idaho Springs looked like about 3 o'clock this afternoon. Now, there was some snow on the ground, but for the most part, sunny skies. Now, CDOT says that with this record amount of traffic that they're expecting to see on I-70 this weekend, they say that those predictions are based on historical data. Now, they say the last time that New Year's landed in the middle of the week, over 154,000 drivers passed through the Eisenhower Tunnel on I-70. Now, CDOT says they expect to exceed those numbers this weekend. And for people who hit the slopes today, they say leaving early this morning, well, guess what? It did not help them avoid the rush.
I mean, it was kind of standstill traffic for anywhere between, I would say, 45 minutes if we were lucky and a couple hours.
Tried to wake up early, get on I-70 as early as possible, and it still took probably like 2 hours to get to Loveland.
I live in an area where we have about 5 ski resorts within an hour radius. There's never traffic to get to any of them. You just pop in your car, you drive straight up, that's it. So it was a bit of a culture shock, I suppose you could say, to come here.
And just a reminder for everybody that as snow continues to fall, just be careful, drive safely, whether you're on I-25 down here in the metro or going up to the mountains this weekend. Live in Denver, Colton Chavez, 9 News.
Colton, thank you. Want to get right over to 9 News Weather Impact Team meteorologist Carl Lamb joining us. You're tracking the forecast, Carl, and even though this isn't, the biggest snowstorm in the world, it will have impacts across the state.
Yeah, it's already coated our patio back here, and it's just happened in the last 40 minutes or so. So definitely starting to stick across the Denver metro area. We have temperatures right now at 20 degrees in Denver, 27 in Kremling. It is pretty cold out here. Thankfully, the wind is not too intense either, but all in all, it's been pretty quiet so far. Here's what we're tracking right now. It's the snow that's working its way. It's mainly for the eastern plains, not so much for us downtown, but it's kind of like someone shook a snow globe and it's just very light. But we do have some more headed south from Colorado Springs down towards Pueblo at this point. We'll zoom in, show you that areas around Parker. You'll pick up some snow at this point. But all in all, it's not too bad at this point. Again, elevation playing a factor in that as well. Over towards Fort Morgan, Yuma picking up on that snow, Fleming and up towards areas around Sterling along I-76. We take you over towards areas as you go out towards I-70. That's where you start to get a little more from Lyman over towards Flagler and then down towards areas near Pueblo, Ordway and down towards Colorado City. So that's a look at what we're dealing with right now. What's on the way for tomorrow for the Chiefs game? We'll have that the Chiefs and Broncos game rather. We'll have more on that coming up in a little bit.
Carl, thank you. And as we track the snow moving in tonight and through tomorrow, remember that you can take your forecast with you using our 9 News app, free to download, of course. You can also find traffic updates and live radar throughout your weekend. Today, the life and legacy of former President Jimmy Carter was honored with a funeral in Georgia. His 6-day ceremony began with a motorcade to his boyhood farm in Plains, Georgia, where the National Park Service Honor Guard ran the famous farm bell 39 times, to nod to him, of course, to being the 39th president. After that ceremony, the motorcade then brought his body to the Carter Center in Atlanta, which he and his late wife founded in 1982. At a short service there, Carter's son honored them both.
And he was held up and propped up and soothed by an amazing woman. And the two of them together changed the world. And it was an amazing thing to watch from so close and to be able to be involved in. And I thank you for your service.
Carter will lie in repose in Atlanta until January 7th. He'll then be flown to Washington, D.C., where he'll lie at state at the Capitol Rotunda before his funeral service at the Washington National Cathedral, happening on Thursday. In Washington today, President Joe Biden awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom to 19 people at the White House. It's the nation's highest civilian honor. This year's recipients included a wide mix of politicians, philanthropists, and cultural icons. Hillary Clinton, Michael J. Fox, and Denzel Washington were on the list, along with Bill Nye the Science Guy, Magic Johnson, and fashion icon Anna Wintour. The honor is presented to people who have made contributions to the prosperity or security of the United States and the world. Tonight, a memorial continues to grow in New Orleans after 14 people were killed in a terror attack on Bourbon Street this past Wednesday. Family members were seen walking arm in arm to the memorial in the French Quarter where their loved ones were killed. Louisiana's governor has since declared a mourning period that will begin on Monday. Each of the 14 victims in that attack will have their own individual day of remembrance. President Joe Biden and the First Lady are also expected to visit New Orleans on Monday as well. All of this comes as security concerns grow about security in the French Quarter. Tonight, there are new questions on why the state's famous street wasn't more secured on Wednesday morning. NBC News obtained excerpts from a 2019 report that warned that Bourbon Street's barrier system did not appear to work correctly and is rarely used. Despite the report being more than 5 years old, Bourbon Street's barrier repairs were still unfinished this week. Tonight, New Orleans police are being asked why more barriers weren't in place on New Year's.
It's troubling that with the Super Bowl being awarded to the city, that this was not prioritized immediately to get done. We're getting to the bottom of what happened, because right now there was a problem.
The manufacturer of the barriers told NBC News New Orleans bought the protective equipment back in 2017. They're 700 pounds made of steel and designed to stop a car ramming attack like what happened.